What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millsy, back with Hometown Commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew my version 1.0 deck list of the commander in front of us on my quest to brew the magic world. As always, that deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. As well as, I'd really appreciate it if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, consider becoming a member of the channel. Check out those links down in the description. I'd really appreciate it. Today, we are starting off another week of Dustin Warren content, and we're talking about another Rooms deck, but this time we're in 5 colors with Marina Vendrell. This character is kind of interesting. I think it's interesting that in the story that she's this character stuck out of time, and then in the house, she's the only character that you got to keep the house at bay. So, of course, the characters in the story notice that when they're in a room with her, that the house isn't as able to interact with them as it is otherwise, and that's because Marina is the one who additionally strikes the pact with Valgavoth for the house. But it's interesting because, of course, then that means that Marina's going to care about rooms. So it says whenever she enters, we can reveal the top 7 cards of our library. When we do, we put all enchantments from one of them into our hand and the rest on the bottom. A nice way to fetch and grab a bunch of enchantments to our hand. And then we can tap her to lock or unlock a room of a target door of a target room we control. And we can only do this as a sorcery. This is a really fun ability because it means we can cheat some of the cost of those really expensive rooms and doors. But this is also really good because then we can lead ourselves towards some of these options we have with rooms. I built the deck to do really, in all reality, 2 things. One, we're going to use the rooms to get a myriad of different effects to allow us to take control of the game. The second is we're going to try to animate the rooms with a couple different ways to make them into creatures and allow them to kind of be our army while still fulfilling our goals. We're going to talk about how we can, make enchantments matter. We're playing enchantments, so there's great ways to make enchantments matter. And then a couple ways we could potentially untap Marina to give her effect multiple times per turn. So as far as the rooms goes, these are the only a couple rooms from the set. We're playing almost every room we can in the deck because we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of all of them. But the main room that we care about for the purposes of the room specifically is Central Elevator and Promising Stairs. Central Elevator says when we unlock this door, we can search our library for a room card that doesn't have a same name as a room we control, reveal it, put to our hand, then shuffle. This works really well with Marina, of course, because we can keep locking and unlocking this door, searching for rooms and getting them into our hand if we need specific ones. And then on the stairs side, this is how we could potentially win the game. It's the beginning of your upkeep, Surveil 1. We win the game if there are 8 or more different rooms among unlocked doors or rooms you control. So we just need 8 of them total, including the stairs, and we can win the game. This is a helpful alternate win condition because remember that our opponents have to remove our enchantments, which there aren't a ton of easy ways to do that. If we were just relying on creatures, right, there are easy ways to do that. But I think with them being enchantments, it's going to require our opponents to take a little bit more effort to do. I'm not going to read all these rooms because there's a lot of them in the deck. I just mainly want to go ahead and talk about the main ones we care about. Dazzling Theater is an interesting one. Creatures we cast have Convoke. And then on the prop room side, we're going to tap each creature we control during each other player's untap step. This is a really nice one, specifically this side, because we do have some things that make tokens whenever enchantments come in. This can basically allow us to keep attacking while keeping blockers back to deal with our opponents. Dollmaker's Shop and Porcelain Gallery is a great one. The shop side can make a token every time we attack with one or more non-toy creatures. And then Porcelain Gallery turns all of our creatures into XXs, where X is the number of creatures we control. A way to just potentially take over a game with huge creatures. I like Restricted Office because Marina is 3 power, but if she's not down on Restricted Office size, we can destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, so we can really just take out a potential board wipe there. And then on the Lecture Hall side, giving all of our permanents hexproof. One of the other ones that we talked about in other rooms videos but becomes really important for a deck like ours is Secret Arcade and Dusty Parlor. On the arcade side, non-land permanents we control and permanent spells we control are enchantments in addition to the other types, so it turns everything into enchantment. And then the Parlor side, whenever we cast an enchantment spell, we can put counters on our creature equal to that spell's mana value. So that's a pretty helpful ability to grow our board and push ourselves towards dealing with things. But how are we going to animate our rooms? Well, for the record, there's a couple easy ways. There's Zur there in the middle that we have a video that went up last week for. For 2 mana, we can turn a non-or enchantment into a creature. and its base power and toughness are equal to its mana value. So remember that with a room, its mana value is going to be equal to the total amount of doors open in it. So with one door, it'll just be equal to that. With both doors open, it'll be equal to the total. So our rooms could potentially be very big creatures. Same thing with Starfield of Nyx over on the right. Starfield of Nyx says as long as you control 5 or more enchantments, each other non-aura enchantment is a creature, and additions other types of the same ability. And then at the beginning of each upkeep, of our upkeeps, we can bring an enchantment from our graveyard back to the battlefield. And then Bellow just feels right? Each non-equipment artifact and each non-aura enchantment mana value 4 or greater is a 4/4 elemental. So not as big on the power scale, right, as Zur and Starfield. But what I like about this is they get haste, they get indestructible, so we can have them attacking and really dealing some damage. And then when they hit players, we draw cards. So Bellow feels great here as a way to kind of hit this middle ground where they're indestructible on our turn as long as Bellow's out, to stop that, shenanigans, but still have some fun. Zur will give them Death Touch, Lifelink, and Hexproof as long as they're creatures, so that'll help protect them. As well as Zur actually does protect our other enchantment creatures that are in the deck as well. But alright, so we talked about the rooms, kind of talk about, animating them. How else are we going to take advantage of our enchantments? Well, there's a lot of ways, and Duskmourn added some as well. We got Amanatu there in the commander decks, giving us the ability to cast them with Miracle, being able to cheat them down. Archons of Sun's Grace is going to make a Pegasus whenever an enchantment comes in, allowing us to kind of go wide while we get our rooms under control and as we get them deployed. Calyx feels great here. Whenever it or another enchantment comes in, you put a counter on a creature you control, and then whenever it or an enchanted creature deals damage to a player, you can make a copy you could token that's a copy of a non-legendary enchantment you control. This is a great time to mention that if you were to copy a room that's on the battlefield, you'll get a copy of that room with no doors open. So it's good to know that when you go to copy a room, you do have to unlock the doors again, but that could be very helpful if that room has great abilities that you want more than once to use. Demon of Fate's design is going to help us cast an enchantment spell by paying life equal to its mana value rather than its mana cost once per turn. That's pretty great. And then we could sack another enchantment to give it a buff until in a turn. But just have a flying and trample 6/6, not a bad body on its own. Entity Tracker is going to draw us a card every time we have an enchantment come in or every time we fully unlock a room. So that's both doors. That's a great ability, drawing us cards as we go, right? Kind of becomes a Enchantress Plus, right, in our deck because we can draw cards more than just when we cast them. Ghostly Dancer says whenever an enchantment we control enters or whenever we fully unlock a room, we make a 3/1 spirit. So here's a way to get some more of these tokens and get ourselves going. And when it enters, we can return an enchantment back from our graveyard or unlock a locked door. So that's a nice ability, being able to potentially get ourselves going towards unlocking more of our rooms for different effects. Inquisitive Glimmer is kind of the best of both worlds, reducing the cost of our enchantments by 1, but also unlocking costs of our rooms by 1 as well. And it is an enchantment, so it does play into some of our other abilities. Undo Spirit Dancer says whenever an enchantment you control enters, you may create a copy of it. If you do it only once each turn. This is a fun, technically infinite combo if you wanted to keep going with that Secret Arcade, because Secret Arcade will turn every copy. You could have Undo Spirit Dancer come in as an enchantment with Secret Arcade out, and then keep making copies of Spirit Dancer as many as you want to for different other effects. Now, it does say may, so it's not like you're locking yourself into a loop. It's a way to potentially get a lot of added value, or have just other enchantments come in and get copies of them. There's a lot of enchantments in the deck we'll happily take extra copies of, so Spirit Dancer fits what we want to do really well. Sanctum Weaver can tap for X mana of any one color, where X is the number of enchantments we control, a great ability to ramp us forward as we're taking these turns. Setessan Champion, whenever an enchantment comes in, put a counter on it and draw a card. Here's one of these kind of Enchantress draw effects, but Setessan Champion's going to get bigger for it. Sithis, whenever we cast an enchantment, gain a life and draw a card. A classic Enchantress commander in its own right, but feels great here as we can churn through our deck for more rooms. Victor from the new set feels like it could be fun here. And whenever an enchantment we control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, surveil 2 if it's the first time this turn. If it's the second time, each opponent pitches a card. And if it's the third time, put a creature from your graveyard onto the battlefield, from a graveyard onto the battlefield of your control, so any graveyard. A way to potentially reanimate a creature. If not, Surveil 2 is a great ability, being able to look through your deck and kind of keep the things coming that you want coming. Hallowed Hunting got that beautiful reprint and feels great here, making clerics whenever we're casting enchantments, and then as long as we have 7 or more enchantments, all our creatures have flying and vigilance, a great way to both attack and block. effectively. Sigil the Empty Throne, whenever we cast an enchantment spell, we make an angel. Sterling Grove going to hopefully help protect our rooms, giving them Shroud. And then whenever we sacrifice Sterling Grove, we can search our library for enchantment and put it on top. Here's a way to potentially get that elevator and stairs if we need it. You know, if we're getting towards a way, that's a way to get it potentially work towards our alternate win con. The last thing we can do is try to tap and untap Marina multiple times. But at the end of the day, why pay 5 or 6 mana to unlock a door if we can just do it for free? Patriarch's Seal will let us untap it her once per turn. But Freed from the Real and Penman's Aura, both of these are auras we're going to put right on Marina. For just 1 blue mana, we could untap Marina and do it again. Again, we can only do it at sorcery speed for Marina's ability, but that's okay. We could potentially unlock all the rooms on our battlefield, keep triggering those eerie abilities as well. I do like Penman's Aura because it does give Marina the ability to have Shroud, which is really nice, and even give her flying if we need to, but otherwise these two could be very repeatable ways to untap Marina over and over again and keep locking or unlocking. Remember, we can lock and then re-unlock them for the same abilities multiple times, which could be very useful depending on what you have out in what situation. I kind of view the rooms in this deck as a toolbox for us to use to determine what we need to lock and unlock when. But I've said before on the show, and I'll say it again, no deck's ever complete. This is my version 1.0 shot at it. I think there's a lot we can learn in testing, which is mainly, are we playing enough enchantment matters stuff? Like, for example, Doomwake Giant over there on the right is a card I really enjoy. Whenever it or another enchantment comes in, creatures our opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn. Would potentially one-side board wipe the board. I love Doomwake Giant. I just want to make sure that we have enough in there to really fulfill it being in our deck. Same thing with Onyxia, a legendary enchantment creature that says other enchantment creatures have menace, and when she enters or attacks, you may exile up to 1 non-aura enchantment card from your graveyard, make a copy of it, except it's a 3/3 zombie. So this would be a way to get our rooms back as creatures. We would just then have to unlock the doors, but kind of an interesting ability. Could be a way to get things back. Again, I just don't know if we have too much already. You know, do we have too much of the enchantment stuff already? Is this an ability that we could use more of? And if we can, then I'd happily bring it back in. Composer of Spring is just a good card, I think, for a lot of enchantment decks. This one came in Onyxia as a deck originally. Whenever an enchantment enters under our control, we can put a land card from our hand on the battlefield tapped, a good way to ramp. But if we control 6 or more enchantments, instead we can put a creature or land from our hand on the battlefield tapped. Just an interesting ability. If we need some more of that ramp, I think it's not a bad option. Getting into our playtest, we're keeping a 4-laner here with Eidolon of Blossoms, Leyline of the Guild Pact, and Anguished Unmaking. Leyline is in here because it says if it's in your opening hand, you can begin with it on the battlefield. Each non-land permanent you control is all colors, and lands you control are every basic land type of other types. This is important because we do have lands that care about if we have certain lands on the battlefield, but also because now that means they can tap for anything, and we're a little bit less worried about having the right colors in our hands. That's going to start on the battlefield. Turn 1, I guess we'll get something in tapped. I don't think there's anything we can do really there. Turn 1. Turn 2. Again, nothing too much we're building up towards. We've got Walk-In Closet, letting us play lands from our graveyard. We've got Mirror Room, which can make a copy of something. The thing I like about Leyline is it makes something like Viridescent Bog be able to tap for every color and then do its ability, which is really nice. Victor doesn't seem like a bad idea here. This is going to get us some options on a future turn when we get stuff in. Like I said, I think we're going to look to probably go Eidolon of Blossoms into Marina if we can. But I would probably just play the Blossoms here. We're going to have 2 triggers. Blossoms trigger, which is going to draw us a card, and then Victor, which is going to Surveil 2. I'd rather do the Surveil 2 first, just to make sure we can get what we want. Tunnel lets us Surveil 2. Hauntwoods can actually come in and get us a land. So I kind of like the idea of keeping Hauntwoods on the top, just so that way we could do that. And then that way we can get some more lands that way. So turn 5, this should work the way I think it does. I should be able to Inquisitive Glimmer, which is going to, again, Surveil 2 and draw. So we're going to Surveil 2 first. And then we'll draw that Shadowblood Ridge. and I was worried about not having the 5th mana, but I think this Glimmer should still reduce Hauntwood's impending by 1. I could be wrong on that. Let's play it like it is, and I'll confirm that ruling later for everybody. But we'll get the Hauntwood down as its impending cost, mainly because that's just going to get me the Everywhere token. That's what I really care about, right, for next turn. But Hauntwoods says whenever it enters or attacks, we make that Everywhere token. That's going to trigger Eidolon, draw us a card, and Victor. So Victor's going to have each opponent pitch a card, and we're going to draw that tunnel that we saw before. So the reason I guess I would like it to matter whether or not it's 1 or 2 is, or 2 or 3, is because I could potentially get this tunnel down in again this turn, right? Surveil 2, draw a card, and reanimate something, but I guess that doesn't particularly matter, right, this turn necessarily, but it's also good to know as far as that goes. But I think that's a great turn. We set up really well. Hauntwoods is going to lose one of those counters on our end step and work its way towards becoming a creature. It's going to just sit there for a couple turns, but I think it's going to kind of get close to where we need it. All right, so now we got another room in our hand. We've got a ticket booth. It says when you ever unlock this door, manifest dread, and then on the other side it can give a creature a double strike until a turn it attacks. So Mirror Realm could be fun. We can make a copy of a creature. Blossoms could be cool. Glimmer could be cool, right? Making things even cheaper. So my thought here is Mirror Room, right? We make a copy of the Glimmer. It's going to come in drawing us cards. Surveil 2. We'll obviously Surveil 2 first. No reason not to. Sterling Grove and Meat Locker. Meat Locker is an interesting card. Same with Sterling Grove. I like both of them. I'm going to end up casting multiple things, so I think I'm good with leaving them there. And that's now all our enchantments cost 2 less, right? So we had to pay just 2 for the Mirror Realm. We've got 4 mana left. I mean, we should be able to just basically play a ton more of these things. Let's play the Tunnel to Surveil 2. And we're going to Surveil 2 before... let's do it before the draw from... That's on enter. So yeah, we can. Let's put the land on top since we haven't played a land this turn. Then Victor's going to go off, having everybody pitch a card. We'll play the land for turn. So now we've still got 4 mana left this turn. We can do the ticket boost to manifest dread. I know the Sterling Grove's on top, so I have my choice. Remember, I can't flip the Sterling Grove up with manifest dread, so I think I'm going to draw first. I have nothing to reanimate, but I could potentially. And then we're going to manifest dread for either Sigil of the Empty Throne or Central Elevator. I really like Central Elevator. I just need a way to flip it face up. Is there any good way to flip it face up? I could get it into the graveyard and get it back somehow with like Forgotten Cellar. Right. I'm just trying to think of what's the best way to do this. I like both of them, right? I guess we'll just do the Sigil. And we'll put the Promising Stairs in the graveyard. I should have a way to get it back. And then we'll play the Meat Locker to draw. Stun something with the Meat Locker there. And then we've already reanimated with that. Things costing 2 less. I've got 2 mana left. Well, I guess we'll play the Sterling Grove to draw, give a little bit of protection, right, to all of our enchantments. Move to the end step. Overlord will lose a counter. My goal here was just to set up, because now I guess I could have alternatively got Marina in this turn. But my goal was to try to set up so that we can just start mass unlocking these. Now all we need is a way to get a Central Elevator back, and then I think we're right at where we need to be in order to win this game, right? So we're going to come to turn 7. Heck, it could just be Starfield and Nyx. I mean, just turn on a bunch of these creatures. But I know that on the Forgotten Cellar side, when you unlock this door, you may cast spells from your graveyard this turn, and if a card we put in your graveyard this turn for anywhere, exile instead. So that only costs us 3, right? Because of the 2 glimmers. That's going to Surveil 2, right? With that, I guess we'll keep the presence on top. Draw a card. Then I'll play the stairs out of my graveyard for just 1 blue mana, right? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unlocked rooms right now. So it was what? It was 3 mana for that, 1 mana for these stairs. I've got 3 mana left. I think basically all I need to do is unlock 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 6 rooms. 7 for the suite. 8 for the parlor? Sweet, draw a card. 8 for the parlor, draw a card. Play the land for turn, and then I think, now our opponent has to get rid of these stairs, otherwise we win on upkeep. Now this I just managed to do without Marina, but I actually think she probably would have helped us a ton had I thought about that sequencing a little bit better. But that just goes to show you that those rooms and their effects can be really beneficial. Not only that, but look what Glimmer did for us. Look for what True Victor did for us. Digging through our deck, you can kind of see where this, like I said, this toolbox of rooms comes in handy. Let's get to playtest number 2. Keeping up a 5-lander with that Meat Locker and Drowned a Diner. And then Unholy Annex and Ritual Chamber. Unholy Alex draws us an extra card at the end of our turn. If we have a demon, everybody loses 2 and we gain 2. Otherwise, we lose 2. Just a way to potentially draw some more cards. We draw into Funeral Room. A spell that says whenever creature we control dies, each opponent loses 1 and we gain 1, and then when we unlock it, we return all creatures from our graveyard back to the battlefield. Okay, so I could see us getting towards this Fabro Elder as a way to get some nice mana. It's in here to help us tap. Let's see anything we can do on turn 2. So we just keep letting it ride. Turn 3. So I've got green and black there. I need a white source. There we go. That should get me into Fabro Elder. Start letting us tap for mana. Gets +1/+1 for each color among permanents we control. And for each color among permanents we control, we add a mana to that color. So right now it's just green and white. Black. 2, 3. So once we play another land, we should be able to get Wooburg from Cascading Cataracts to play that Marina. So we'll come into turn 4 here. Ooh, Command Tower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're just missing red among those. Or we have red, so red, white, black. Yeah, we should be able to just put 5 into the Cataracts and get down Marina. Whenever it enters, reveal the top 7. My only worry here is we might get it too many enchantments and end up ending with too many in our hand, but let's see. We reveal the top 7. Put all enchantments from them into our hand. So 1, 2, 3, and unfortunately we are going to end up with a few too many, but that's a-okay. So Forgotten Cellar, great, can get things back out of our graveyard, so it's okay if we end up pitching 1 or 2, right? Because we can get them back. So I'll pitch the Annex, and Sanctum Weaver is going to be great to start getting us some mana, right? And I guess I'll pitch the Room. Again, we can get them back with Forgotten Cellar, so it's not that big of a deal. Sweet, and now this turn she can start tapping to get us back some cards. So we'll tap Fabro Elder for 5, right? 1 of each color. We'll play the Sanctum Weaver and the Victor. It might make more sense to play Victor first, right? To get the Surveil 2, Valor Stone. And then Hill of Heliods I'll keep on top. It's a great way to get things back. And then now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana here. So that can stun, that can allow us to play lands from our graveyard. That can put some glimmers on things. I'm 1 mana off of Demon of Fate's Design, but that's okay. If I play another enchantment, everybody's going to pitch a card. If I play another one after that, then I get to reanimate something. Is there anything in my graveyard I can reanimate? There isn't. So that might have been a smart move, maybe to pitch this instead to reanimate with Victor, right? That could have made sense, but that's a-okay. Let's play the Meat Locker to put some stun counters on something that will. I just realized I actually could have put that down and unlocked it. But that's okay. Let's tap Marina to unlock this to draw 3 and then pitch 1. Ooh, we see Free from the Road. Great. That's a way to get Marina tapping and untapping. Love Sithis, another draw engine. And that puts the, that puts Victor's trigger on the stack. So I'll pitch the Demon because then we can bring it back with Victor. because we fully unlocked a room. So that's pretty great. And now next turn, I think we're set up to have some fun. We'll draw for turn 6. This is going to let us pay something from our hand. So we'll pay the 2 life to play Sithis, because we're basically just going to bring it, immediately gain it back. Faber is still tapping for 5, 6, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sithis is Sanctweaver's tapping for 1, 2, 3, 4 mana right now. And it's just going to get bigger. So we'll put the reel on Marina. That's going to draw us a card off of Sithis. And then we'll Surveil 2 with Victor. Calyx is great. That's definitely what we want to see. So that was the 3 mana. I guess we'll use the Elder. No, let's tap. Well, I kind of want to wait for the Weaver, right? Because we could potentially just net a ton of mana. This is the one thing with Sanctum Weaver that you got to be careful of, is not using it too early in the turn, because you could just potentially get a bunch more off of it. We'll use the Elder. We'll use it and a couple more for Secret Arcade. That's going to draw us a card and gain us a life and make us a Glimmer token. That Glimmer token will be another enchantment now for Sanctum Weaver. So that was 3 here and then 2 here. So we should be able to both play the Reel and the Grand Entryway from that 5 mana from Faber Elder. So now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 enchantments, right? For Sanctum Weaver, but we still got 6 mana left. So we're still plenty of ways in. Let's get Calyx in. That's going to draw us a card off of Sithis. And when it comes in, we'll put a counter on a creature we control. I guess we'll pick the... See, the Faber Elder is a 5/5. We'll pick Sithis just to keep it out of the range of some damage stuff. Okay, so Calyx was 3 mana. We've got 3 mana left, and then Sanctum Weaver. I'm trying to use as much as my mana before I tap the Sanctum Weaver. We'll play the Closet, draw off of Sithis, put another counter. We'll put the counter on Calyx. So now the Weaver's tapping for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. It has to be a mana of a single color, so we might lose, a little bit there. But we could potentially use it to do a couple important things, right? Let's tap it all for black. And I'm going to play Derelict Attic. When you unlock this door, draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. But we're going to gain a life and draw off of Sithis. When that comes in, we'll get a counter on Calyx. Then we'll open up the other side. Whenever a creature attacks alone, we do that. That'll trigger Victor again. So that should be the Reanimate if somebody else has one to reanimate. We'll tap Marina to do the Elegant Rotunda, I guess. Whenever you unlock this door, put a counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. We'll do Sithis and Sanctum Weaver. And then now... we could try to hit in and deal some damage if we want to, but in all reality, all we now need to is find a way to either get into the elevator or just keep getting enchantments down. If we could find a way to animate them, we'll be in great shape. But otherwise, just keep committing to the board, get our rooms, get them unlocked, so whenever we can reanimate them, they're sitting there. But look at it. Sithis is drawing us a great amount of cards. Calyx, if we hit with Marina here, we could potentially make another copy of something like Sanctum Weaver. Sanctum Weaver's just going to keep netting us mana. This is like the perfect Enchantress endgame you want. Tons of mana, tons of stuff laying around, and we were able to get above all this awkward mana, these awkward lands, and have some fun. But let me know, what do you think of Marina? Down in the comment section below. It's an interesting deck. I think the idea of 5-color rooms is fun. I'm glad I got to work things like Bellow and Zur into this deck, because I think they're both really fun. And I had a fun time brewing this deck. And I think the thing about rooms that are interesting to me is they don't have my heart over something like Shrines in 5-color, but I think they're both really interesting, and they're great ideas to play this 5-color rooms shenanigans. But let me know, what do you think of Marina rooms down in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys next time.